All right, it should be better now. Is it better? I think it should be better. I see the thing moving at least. Yeah, I think it was pulling from the wrong source, the wrong audio source. All right, cool. Sure. Thanks for notifying me. I think there wasn't so many people in the chat at first, so I don't think it bothered a lot of people. It's just going to be a weird video where I speak silently for a while and just say stuff. So, so let me get back to. Wait, let me check that. Yeah, let me get back to what I was doing before. So issues that we could fix. So there's a couple of issues here on Datanommer and Datagrepper that would be, I think, interesting to fix. One of them is about adding a link to the list of available messages at the bottom of the page. Very simple. The other one is about being able to filter build messages by user, which is actually a schema issue that is not installed, but I will let us look at S2I and like source to image, the system that let us build images from the sources in GitHub. So there's one here. Then there's issues in FastJSON. How to get filled from all users in a specific group. Okay, improve the documentation. Fed message is going to be retired, so same thing for fed message here. Not this one. So there's also an issue on FMN, a UI issue in FMN that would be TypeScript, and we could have a look at that. We started with this last week, so we could go on and fix this issue in the UI. Try to fix that. There's another one, 891 down here, which is about the name of a button. That's very easy to fix, but it will be interesting to show the layout of the code in TypeScript. So there's that. There's a simple bug in Noggin about client-side validation of OTP field on the login form. Very simple, just HTML, but it will help a lot of people because everybody is using that. So there's Tarrier, but it's being rewritten, so not touching that. Same for Badger server. This one is currently blocked by another thing, so I'm not going to touch it. Moat, I could look at Moat, but I know nothing about it for now, so maybe not. And there's issues with the message schemas for the hotness. One about parsing the internals of a message that is not done exactly properly, I should say. And the other one is about implementing the function that is going to be used to create the body of the emails that are sent out by FMN. So at the moment, it doesn't implement the string representation of these messages. So the message contain basically the JSON blob. It's not really user friendly. So there's something that we could do about that. Okay, so let me look at what I could propose you. Okay, client-side validation, migrate to poetry, that's been done. Implement str. There's one about this, but I'm not gonna touch it for now. Footer to email notifications, yeah, that's that as well. Final step, and we'll create, yeah, that's that one. And I think we could do the Datagrepper and Datanommer together. So let me try and make a list, like a poll with this. I've tried that tons of times, never worked. Let me try that again. Hopefully this time I'll do something right. Or maybe it's just the polling extension that isn't really doing what I want. All right, I see. Oh, I see the poll that should have been. Okay, so there's a poll that I just created. Blah blah blah. UI. Yeah, there's. It's not. It's 897. 877 we fixed last week. So there's only 897 in FMN. Another one in FMN. Implement str. and I'm going to remove the migrate to poetry, and instead I'm going to put the duplicate name in Anitia. Okay, let us see this one. Okay, I'm going to start the poll in the extension. In theory, you should be able to see the poll, but maybe not. Let me try and see if I can activate that. It should be activated already. Okay. Maybe there's an overlay thing to add. I don't know if that works. Oh, you see it. Okay, that's good. I don't see it in my preview of the stream, but I mean, doesn't prove anything. So, well, if Lenka sees it, I hope that everybody else sees it as well. I'm going to try. Okay. Yeah, I see that you voted for the first option, so that is good. Okay, this part is working. I have only 6 options, so it's going. I will have to limit myself to 6 options for the next times, but at least it's somehow working. Where do you see it on the screen, Lenka? Do you see it like on the right part of the screen, or is it how is it displayed? All right. In the meantime, I am going to keep going. Okay, it's a pop-up over the video. Okay, that might be the overlay thing. I don't really know. Anyway. All right, since we have a grand total of 1 vote, that's 100% for the first option. That's a pretty good score. I mean, there's a lot of people in politics who would love to have that score. All right, and so Datagrepper. Yeah, you win, Lenka, absolutely. You win by participating, you see? That's exactly the thing. So Datagrepper has a link to the list of available messages. What does it say? Hey, Andrej. Um, Let me look at that. I hope you're not sending me... okay, yeah, that's cool. All right, cool. Well, I'm happy to see that it works. I was hoping that you were not sending me a WebP image that that had the latest bug, but I have upgraded my libweb yeah, I think it's WebP, the format that has issues at the moment. You just view an image and it has remote execution. It's terrible. Upgrade your libraries for that. Um, all right. So Datagrepper. So there's a list of known messages on the Fedora messaging documentation, and it would be useful if that was available on Datagrepper. Makes total sense. Let's have a look at that. That's not the one. That's closed. Yep. This one. So somebody said that they wanted to work on that, but nothing happened, and that was a long time ago. So I'm going to do it basically. There is no pull request, so I'm not going to, step on somebody else's toes. All right. So Datagrepper. So first, let me give you an introduction on Datanommer and Datagrepper. I'm going to create a new tab, a new window, so you can actually read that. Okay, so not the right one. I should maybe try that with VS Code, right? If you prefer, if that's easier to follow and understand, or I can do it in Vim. It's fine. Okay, that was Fedora messaging. I am not working on that one today. Oh, it's been a while since I opened this one. Anyway. Let us go to Fedora apps Datagrepper. And I'm probably going to have to explain Datagrepper and Datanommer. So first, let me tell you about the bus that we have in Fedora. Um, all the applications can send messages when they do things on a bus on an application bus. So basically, they send a message with like a JSON description of what happens, and they send it on a topic. A topic is a list of words separated by dots, and other applications can subscribe to this topic, and they will receive all the messages that are sent to this topic. It's extremely practical for infrastructures where you have a lot of applications, because, for example, if you have an application that has an action and there's another application that wants to be informed of that action, the first thing you would do is edit your application A to send a message to application B. But then you realize, oh, I want to add application C, and it wants to be informed of the same thing again, of the same information. So you're going to edit A to send a message to B and C, and you see that it doesn't scale. So it's much better to send a message to a broker or to a system that will deliver messages in a publish-subscribe system. There is a publisher, publishes messages. They are organized by topic, and there's a set of consumers that will subscribe to a topic or to a prefix of a topic, and a set of topics basically. It doesn't have to be only one, of course. And they will receive messages whenever they are published by the sender. Very simple, works very well. The problem with that, well, one of the problems with that is that it's all instantaneous. There is no history of it, right? You send a message, and it's as long as everybody who has subscribed to this message got the message, then it disappears, basically. And in Fedora, we wanted to have a history of that for various reasons. The first reason was debugging, because we wanted to see if a message had been sent, and then see why it was not understood by applications. So we could read the history of messages. It's much easier for debugging. But then it was also useful for giving at first it was used to give badges to people. For example, you've created an update for a package in body. You get a badge. That's cool. But we wanted also to give a badge to people who have created like 10 updates or 100 updates or 1,000 updates. And for that, you need a history. So we've written Datanommer and Datagrepper. In the following system, there's Datanommer that is subscribed to everything that happens on the bus, and it stores it in a database, right? It stores everything in a database, in a very big database that I think I've read is currently 1.2 terabytes of size, so it's pretty big. And then there's Datagrepper, which is a REST API to query this database. It will give you a REST API with like a simple way to search for messages by topic, by user, and it will return them as JSON. All right, I think that's a good introduction to it. If you have questions about that, feel free to ask me. I'm very happy to answer, and I'll go back to whatever I was doing before easily, so don't worry about interrupting me. I mean, my brain is doing the interrupting all the time, so I'm used to getting back to whatever I was doing before. All right. So as a usual application in our Fedora infrastructure applications, it has a Vagrant file, and we can run Vagrant. All right. I could do it here in the terminal of Visual Studio, but I'm more used to do that in the terminal here. So when you do a Vagrant up, it should set up the environment entirely. So right now, it is trying to download F34 image because the Vagrant file hadn't been updated for the latest version. That's not great. I'm going to try and update it to F38 right now. So just give me a minute. It's very simple. You just edit the vagrant file and you edit it with another one that you know is right. So for example, FMN I know has the latest version. It has Fedora 36, so nice try. Let me try another one. Maybe Noggin, who knows? Fedora 38, that's much better. Okay, so here is the path to the image. I'm going to use that one, except it's Datagrepper. Right, and I'm going to name it Fedora F38 Cloud Libvirt. That's much better. Okay, hopefully doing that is sufficient and the playbook is going to keep running properly. We'll see. All right, so now it start. I already have the machine, like the F38 machine, so it's starting to build the image. And it's booting it as a virtual machine run by, QEMU, the usual thing. It sets an SSH password so you can access it easily. And it's mounting my source directory into home vagrant datagrepper. So I'll be easily able to change the thing, like run in the VM, change the things on my host machine, and the changes will be propagated into the VM via SSHFS. Now it's running Ansible to set up the whole machine. Oh yeah, one thing. When I start working on a bug, the good practice is to assign yourself to the bug. So what did we choose? We chose add a link to the list of available messages. That's the one. Okay, I'm going to make that a bit bigger for you. I'm going to assign myself to it. And now people know that they shouldn't really work on that right now because I'm working on it. All right, so it's installing PostgreSQL. Yes, that gives me time to explain another thing. Before 2 years ago, I think, we were just storing every message in PostgreSQL directly, just as a regular database. It worked fine, but there are things that could be done better. There's some library, I should say, called timescaledb that has been developed for time series data in PostgreSQL. What's a time series? It's basically a, a set of data that is like a key value data ordered by a timestamp. So you have a timestamp, you have a key, you have a value, and that's all of it. And knowing that it's what it's going to be storing into PostgreSQL, the timescaledb library is able to do a lot of optimizations and a lot of things around it to make it easier and more efficient to query your database. So that's what Datanommer uses now. It stores all the data in timescaledb, which is a layer on top of PostgreSQL. So it's going to be able to split the files into, like, depending on the date of the message, which makes it easier to search. It's going to give you what they call a hyper table, which is basically something that looks like a table for you when you request on it, but it's actually making sub requests in the right places. All right, Ansible is running. Oh, okay, that didn't work. So create the user. Failed to set permissions on temporary files. Ansible need to create when blah 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 blah. Yeah, that reminds me of something. I think I've seen that one before, but I don't remember how I fixed it. I know I fixed that one before, but I don't remember in which application. I'm going to do a quick search on it, see if I can find the same thing that I found last time. Failed set permissions, blah 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 blah. Invalid mode plus A. Okay, there's something that I missed. Create the user. It's in. Okay, let us bring that up. It's in Ansible. There's a role for PostgreSQL. Create the user. It's a block, become, Postgres, sudo. There might be something wrong in there. Become, yes, become user. If you know about that one, please tell me. It's gonna save me some time. Blah, 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 blah. Right, there's something about setf. Oh yeah, right. There's a missing package. Okay, yeah, that was it. Okay, so it needs yeah, it needs the ACL package. It needs the ACL package that is not in the library for by itself. Okay, let me run that. And by the way, when you do a vagrant up and you're not sure that it's going to work, which is exactly my case, I recommend adding no destroy on error, which will prevent Datagrepper from doing exactly this. Well, prevent Vagrant from doing this. If there is an error in your Vagrant, up, it's going to destroy the VM, so you'll have to recreate it entirely after that. That's a bit annoying, especially if you're debugging and you don't know how many errors there will be. So I'm going to do that again. It's going to re-download PostgreSQL and TimescaleDB and set everything up again. But if it fails this time, at least it's not going to destroy it, and I'll be able to just run vagrant provision to have it run Ansible again on the VM. And while it's doing that, time for some water. Stay hydrated, folks. Gathering facts. I suppose there's a lot of facts to gather from a VM. Alright, if you have questions or want to talk about something that is related to Fedora or development or Python or web or pretty much anything you want, now's a good time to do it. Anytime's a good time, but now is an even better time. Alright, so this time it's going to install the ACL package. I see that I have a latency of something below 10 seconds, apparently. So Lenka asks if the EasyFix webpage will be also on prod at some point. So I was thinking about that, but it has issues. One of them is that if you want your project to be enrolled in the gathering of all the fixes, you have to add it to a wiki page, and that's not great. That's not a really a good way to store that. Hey Matt, I'm not sure who you are, but hello. um, so that's I suppose it's Matt 314, if I'm saying it right. Um, hey, I saw the vessel. So you want to offer promotion on my channel viewer, blah 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 blah, price lower than competitor. Okay, I am not interested in that. Sorry about that. Yeah, so the EasyFix page is, well, if to be production worthy, it should be improved in some ways. For example, have its own database that people in project could register their projects in instead of using the wiki for that. So people were thinking about rewriting that and doing it better, and then they decided that it was some work that was not entirely very useful. Um, but I wanted to have something that works for my streams, so I made the smallest changes possible to have it to make it work. Um, it's really not well. It could be, but I don't think I'm going to spend time doing that. It could be. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the situation. If anybody wants to work on it, it's actually very simple. It's I think it's a I think it's something that generates HTML statically from Jinja templates, and it's Python application that Python script basically that parses the wiki and then goes on through every repo and does GitHub API queries or Pagure API queries, and yeah, that's basically it. Hmm. All right. So Datagrepper is installing its RPM dependencies now. We're getting there. All right, almost there. Creating a virtual environment for the code, installing it with Poetry. All right. Yeah, I have to have a Datanommer running also. So this install is going to be running Datanommer as well. Although we don't really need to have data in the database for our case because we just want to add a link to the bottom of the page. So it's a long setup just for that, but the point is to is to show the whole process. So we're going to wait for it. Install Datagrepper with Poetry. All right. Hasn't it done that before? I thought it did. Oh no, it's installing Poetry inside the virtual environment. Okay, that's different. How far are we in the playbook? Yep, that's going to be very fast afterwards. Probably the last big step. Okay. All right, creating the database, and it failed. Why? Because Alembic INI not defined in the Fedora messaging config. That is interesting. Huh. Well, I'm glad that I had the no destroy an error flag because otherwise I would have to start over, which would be a bit too bad. Okay, so what's going on in here? I am going to run this command from inside the thing and see if it works the same. Vagrant SSH. So yeah, there's Datanommer is I think it's very slow. Oh yeah, it is slow because it is trying to do some GSS API authentication, which doesn't work in this situation. So SSH is a bit slow. Hopefully, it's going to finish soon. I think there might be an SSH client setting that I could set to prevent a vagrant SSH from using GSS API. But yeah, I may be able to research that at some point. Would be a good idea. Okay, so in theory, if I do this, it should work the same. Oh yeah, right, data number, that has to be done here. No Datanommer dot models, I suppose. Yes, same error now. All right, what is in the Fedora messaging config? Oh yes, I suppose it fails because yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, Datanommer and Datagrepper are probably both looking for the Fedora messaging config in the same file, and I think there might have been one that overwrites the other one. What templates do I have? I have this here, Datagrepper development. Okay, and it fails because um, it says that Alembic INI is not defined. Because yeah, I probably don't have a setting in place for Datanommer, right? Um, yeah, that looks like the Datagrepper configuration file here, but Datanommer needs to have one as well. It's weird that is. I mean, this probably never worked. Anyway, let's make one. So Datanommer comes with some example configuration file, right? It should be in docs, maybe? No docs. I suppose devel, ansible, roles, Datanommer, files. No? Well, it is looking for some Alembic INI file. So let me look for it as well. Blah blah blah. Okay. Yeah, here it is. Okay, here it is. Okay. Datanommer.commands. Okay, there's the config.uml file. That is an example. So that's what it wants. It wants this. Well, all right. Let's make one. What we are going to do is I'm going to copy that file, this example file, into Datagrepper development ansible roles Datagrepper. Well, actually, it should be Datanommer to be proper, but yeah. Do I want to do that? Yeah. Okay. I'll start with this. Hopefully, you will never have to do that again. So here I'm going to create a role for Datanommer. It should have a tasks directory and files or templates. Let's go for files for now. Okay, and here is what we are. Here is the role that we're going to use to install Datanommer properly. So it's going to have this Datanommer service. It's going to be here. Yes, I want to move it. So the Datagrepper is only going to install Datagrepper, and Datanommer is only going to install it. And I'm going to copy. Did I copy it? Yeah, I copied it. Okay, that's cool. Install npm packages. These are going to be the dependencies for Datanommer and not Datagrepper. I am not sure what they are, so I'm going to remove most of the things. Right, if I do this, I need to make sure that I have created the virtual environment before Datanommer and Datagrepper. So, in theory, I should add another role, which would be the env. That's not in the right directory. right here, because there are dependencies in there. And a tasks file, a task directory, and a main file that installs like just what is necessary to create the virtual environment. So this should be sufficient. Create this, install Poetry in there, and that's it. All the rest goes away. Okay. Now I need to edit this file and add venv role Datagrepper and probably Datanommer first, right? Because Datagrepper depends on Datanommer, not the other way around. All right, let me get back to the Datanommer tasks. I'm not sure which one I need in there, but that's fine. The directory has already been created. Install Datanommer with Poetry, fine. Install Datagrepper, nope. So, I'm going to use the file called Fedora messaging.toml, not .j2. I don't think I need a template. Where did I put this one? Okay. Yes, let's move it to Datanommer, and I want to name it Fedora messaging. That's the Fedora messaging configuration for Datanommer, right? And this is going to be the full path to the alembic.ini file. So that's the path to the Datanommer file. I need to make sure that I'm using the same SQL Alchemy value. Which one is it? Datanommer localhost messages. Okay, fine. And it's messages in here. Okay, so both files correctly mapped to one another, but I need to install it to a different path. So it's going to be Datanommer.toml, so it doesn't conflict with the other one. Create the Datanommer database, fine. I need to have Datanommer create DB. Does it have arguments? I need to set it to the right configuration file. So does it have arguments? It's in datanommer.commands. Yes, load this Fedora messaging configuration file. Okay, fine. -c, and this is going to be the configuration file that it uses. Install the systemd for Datagrepper, no. Start Datagrepper, no. Install systemd for Datanommer, yes. And start Datanommer, yes. Okay, this one now only does Datanommer. Cool, let me remove it from the Datagrepper one. So all that, so creating the directory, the virtual environment directory, no, that has been done already. Installing Datanommer, no. Datagrepper, yes, we keep it. This is a Datagrepper's configuration file. Okay, create the database. It should have been done already. Okay, all the Datanommer thing are in a separate role. Okay, all right. Let us start this. Let's try again. Okay, I have edited files. Very good, very good. Okay, so now instead of doing a vagrant SSH, I'm going to do a vagrant provision. Vagrant provision runs Ansible again, basically. And Ansible, as you may know, is able to, well, if you do your rules properly, it's not going to be doing changes on a system that is already properly configured. So you should be able to run it as many times as you want to it shouldn't make any difference. And it will also report to you if things have changed or not. Although, yeah, you need to be a bit careful if you want to run commands in there, because just for basic commands, Ansible is always going to run them and consider that things have changed for those commands. So that's one thing. All right, it's going to try and install the RPMs, but they're all here. Okay, that also goes much faster than it did this last time. That's normal. Everything's already green. Virtual environment, okay. I don't know why it wasn't happy. Something changed, like JSON schema was changed in the version. It went to a lower version. Doesn't really matter so much. Not in our case, at least. Here it's installed Datanommer with poetry again. Commands, models. All right, it's failing. Could not find or access further messaging.tuml. Did I make a mistake? Yes, I know I made a mistake. Yeah. It's in files, and I've used a template command. Copy. You know what? I would like to try to start only from this command. I could do that because there's the whole line, like there's the whole line that is run right here. So I'm going to copy and paste that one and add start at whatever was before here. No, that's not one. What was it named? This one. And hopefully, if all goes well, it's going to do exactly the same thing, but start at this step instead of doing going over the entire playbooks, because there are many of them. Well, no, there's only one for this app, but like go over all the roles in the playbook. Gathering facts, still doing a bit of time doing that. Okay. Now it's working. All good. Create the database. Failure. Right, Datanommer doesn't exist. Yeah, that's not the right name. Made a mistake here. Create the DB. And it's failing. Create Datanommer DB. So in theory, the database should have been created already. Was it created by the other one? By the PostgreSQL role, maybe? Role. Right, there was PostgreSQL one. It was creating. The database was called messages. Okay, so what is wrong? I suppose that my file here is not right. No, it's called messages. Huh. So what failed? Oh, it's Alembic. I'm sure maybe Alembic hasn't. Yeah, maybe the Alembic configuration is wrong. Let me check that on the host. If it's wrong, then I'm just going to copy that file as well. is there something like disable? Nah, it's fine. Let's ignore it for now and just wait. Let's be patient. I could check what is the option for GSS API. Yeah, I think it's not. I think the Alembic file has one name for the database, which is different from the other one because I'm taking the Alembic file from the Datanommer directly. Okay, very simple. And it's probably not adjusted to whatever Datagrepper expects as a database. So I think that's the reason. I could check that just going to Datanommer and looking at the Datanommer.commands Alembic file. No, models maybe. Yes, this one has. Yep, it has a. This URL is not correct. It's the. So what I'm going to do is copy this file to Datagrepper, devel, whatever, and use this ansible.cfg file, in this role. And adjust, of course, the... What did I just do? It's not Ansible, it's Alembic. Sorry about that. Here. Yep. So Alembic, and I'm going to adjust that. It's messages. And is it the right username and password? Yes, it is. Okay, and now I just have to copy this file as well. Install Datanommer's Alembic. Do I have on this machine an etc Datanommer? I do not. All right, that's fine. I'm going to copy the alembic.ini to etc datanommer.alembic.ini. Okay, and now I'm going to run it. I'm going to adjust this file right here to point to the right path for the alembic.ini. etc datanommer.alembic.ini. Okay, all right, 2 files. Okay, okay. Now provision should work. At least it would work a bit better. Thankfully, I had the entire line somewhere. No? Did I not? Oh, I mean already in the machine. Okay, let me run that again. And now I want to start at create Datanommer DB. It's still going to gather facts though. That's a bit long, but... Alright, so this time it should install. And I'm going to then send all this to the main branch, these changes, so you don't have to do that all over again. It's just, in theory, when you get a directory or an application in GitHub that you want to work on, you just run vagrant up and it should work. And you shouldn't have to do all that because I haven't even started fixing the thing that I wanted to fix. But maybe by looking at me doing that, you will understand how vagrant and all the rest works. Okay. Blah blah blah. Datanommer doesn't exist, so it's still not working. Oh yeah, because copying the file was done in a previous step, and I'm skipping it. Why didn't I think of that? That's the step that I want to use. Yeah, otherwise... Oh yeah, you probably can't read that. Make it a bit bigger. Let's make it a bit bigger again. Yes. Install Datanommer's Alembic config file, and I was starting here, so I didn't even do that. By the way, yeah, it's going to fail again, because actually I want to do that, because otherwise I'm going to point to the wrong Alembic file. Oh, and it failed. Okay. Now it's going to copy the right file. Start. Okay. All right. All right. We're going through. Okay. Now we're going through to Datagrepper. I think it should finish this time. Yeah, yeah. So Matt says that they learn start at in Alembic, and that's extremely useful. And not in Alembic, in Ansible. It's really useful if you don't want to replay an entire playbook from the first step to the last step. And there is also in Alembic you could have list steps, and that's gonna no, not list steps. I thought it was list steps. List tasks. Yes. And that's going to list all the tasks that you're going to do. So if you want to copy and paste into your start at, that's even easier. So yeah, and there's even another thing that I could show you, but yeah, it's the dash dash step thing, which lets you confirm for each step if you want to run it or not. And this way, if you want to just like run like one step, you start at this step, you use the dash dash step argument, and whenever it goes through the step and it stops at the next one and asks you if you want to run it, you just quit, and you've run only one step. That's pretty cool. All right. Did it finish properly? I didn't even look at that. I think it did. Yeah, it did. Okay. So now I'm going to search into the machine. Couple seconds for the timeout to happen. I think it's checking my GSS API credentials, which are not going to work because the Kerberos server for this machine is actually down at the moment because it's in tiny stage and I haven't run it, so probably gonna fail. Okay, there we go. So we have commands that tell you what you could do. We can start with Datagrepper and do the Datagrepper start. There it is. Local Datagrepper available at this command, at this URL. So let us do that. Yeah, of course, it ended up on the wrong tab. Okay, that's fine. Can I move it? Never mind. Let me open the right window. I'm guessing this one. Yes. Okay, so that's the Datagrepper that runs from our local VM, right? You have datagrepper.test in here. I'm going to zoom in a bit. You can still not read the datagrepper.test in here, but I can tell you it's this. So Datagrepper documentation, lots of things, all good, but no list of messages. So what did the person ask for? That person was me. Okay, that's good. There is documentation in here. The link is even wrong. That's perfect. Well done, me. It's not called schemas anymore, maybe? Yes. Available schemas. That's the one? Yeah, put in user guide. Okay, that's all good. Okay, so that's the list of schemas available. And indeed, it would be pretty useful to have that directly in Datagrepper itself. Okay, so where should I put it? Maybe in the documentation somewhere? Prerequisites? I should put something like the list of, yeah, there's grand total of 0 messages in the database. Maybe I should just put it here, right? Because like if I look at the feed, yeah, I should probably put it in the documentation right here. What do you think? That or something in the footer? The advantage of putting it in the footer is that you would get it if you look at the feed. Or I could put it here as well. There's reference, but yeah. I think I should put it in getting started, and it's here like the documentation for how to construct queries, and I could add a line on here. Okay, so where is this? We've touched a lot of Ansible files, but now we can look at the code itself. It is in Datagrepper. Blah 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 templates. That's very likely. There's an index, and what does the index do? Using HTTP GET request, you can query for all kind of historical for the server. Blah blah blah. Okay. Enter package message. So where is this on the page? That's the thing. Okay, and then there's the counter. Odometer. Okay, and then there's a script, and then there's docs here. So what is docs? Docs is actually a generation of the documentation by Sphinx that is done at the start of Datagrepper's processes, I guess, during Datagrepper's startup. You can see that in app. No, don't show Flake8. I'm not using Flake8. Let me give you the right interpreter because I suppose I've run it. No? Oh, probably not. All good. We don't really need that. So there is something that is run with the import of the app directory. It's called preload docs. Preload docs actually runs Sphinx on the documentation and builds it and stores it in memory. It's not great, but that's how it works at the moment, and it returns it when you use the load docs command. So that's the documentation that I'm going to have to edit, right? Let's go into the index. See, that's something that you're more familiar with. Okay, there we go. So what should we say? List of possible topics can be found in, is that, yes, that's RST, in Fedora messaging's documentation. Okay, and now, blah blah blah, same thing. Is the URL is this one. Okay, I think that's correct. Using a small full stop here, and I'm going to use that as well in the maybe not. It's maybe not here. Let's look at the feed thing, because I think the feed might have its own thing. That's the count. No. Raw. No. Base. No. Where does the feed page come from? Fedora messaging messages. See the documentation for information on how to construct queries. I could just look for that. Construct queries. Ah, that's in base. Okay. All right, we could add it here as well. That's in HTML this time. Can be found in stop. And we can remove that one. Okay, well, that's not extremely pretty, so let's do it this way. Which is practically equivalent. And close my P tab. Okay. Yes, yeah, I don't really like how it's reformatting, but I'll deal with that later. Okay, so I've changed my files, and now I just have to restart Datagrepper and see it change. Datagrepper restart. The list of possible topic. Topics with an S, no? Yeah. List of possible topics and possible topics. Save all. Restart. I hope it had time to sync the files, but it doesn't matter. Okay. List of possible topics can be found in Fedora messaging's documentation. Let's click on that, and you get the available schemas. Okay. And if I go to the feed, list of possible topics can be found in blah 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 blah. Same thing. All right, that's pretty cool. Okay, so I added the file. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a commit. There is something that I should have done at start, but I haven't, and that's creating a new branch. I'm here on develop. It tells me that there are some commits that I haven't pulled from the upstream develop, but I have made changes. So now let me go back to Git. Git status here, okay? Yeah, what data number? That's totally not that. Git status. Okay, so I've made all these changes. They are not really related. They all have their own meaning. I mean, there are some different things that are fixed in all that. So the first thing I'm going to do, if I want to upgrade my local machine, my local clone, to whatever is in upstream at the moment. So I'm going to stash my changes, which means they're going to be removed. It's very scary. I'm going to pull from upstream. Okay, I've pulled all the changes. Git stash pop, and it brings my commits back, my changes back. Okay. So now as I was before, except I'm still in develop, except this time my local branch is at the same point as the remote branch. Now what I'm going to do is create a new branch. Checkout -b. Fix, and what's the name of the issue? Was issue 291. Okay, fix 291. You know what? I think I might have still, like, I'm just thinking that I have never closed the poll. I should close the poll. Sorry. I hope it's not bothering you on the screen. And end the poll. All right. All right. Let me get back to my thing. Okay. I create a new branch, and now I'll be able to commit the things. But I don't want to commit everything. Oh, it's hiding. Okay, that's cool. So, yeah, I don't want to commit everything. I want to make my topics. I want to have topics that contain the same fix, like they don't contain just one fix. They don't contain fixes for 10 different things, because it's otherwise very hard to cherry pick them into different branches, merge them, or like review them. It's much easier to have commits that only fix one thing. So the first thing I'm going to fix is something unrelated to issue 291. It's the whole Ansible thing, right? So I'm going to add the 2 new roles that I've added. And I'm going to add the changes into dev Ansible. Actually, what I'm going to add is just dev Ansible. And it's going to be all the changes that I've done in there. I should also add vagrant file because I've needed to make those changes, or at least some of those changes, because I've upgraded the vagrant file to F38. So I'm going to do it into a different commit as well. Git commit -s for to sign it, -m for the commit message. Fix the vagrant VMs Ansible playbook. And now it's going to run pre-upgrade to test the changes that I've made and make a few checks like black, flake8, upgrade, etc. It's not Python. All my changes aren't Python, so it's probably not going to tell me anything. Yep, correct. Okay, now there's the vagrant file. Upgrade vagrant VM to F38. All right. Okay, what else? Now there's the real fix that I want to fix. Let me look at the change first. Okay, I could do that in Visual Studio actually, which is pretty nice to view changes. Okay, that's the 3 changes that I've made. So here I see a lot of changes that are because my editor decided to run some reformatter on the HTML, because that's probably how I configured it, even though I didn't really know. Oh yeah, that's prettier. That's prettier doing it. Okay. It's a bit annoying. And what I'm going to do is first make a commit of only the reformatting. Okay? So how should I do that? I'm going to do that in the command line. I'm going to run something called git add-p, which is going to ask me for every change if I want to commit it or not. But I'm going to specify that I want that in base.html. Datagrepper templates base. So that's a whole gigantic change. Do I want to change that? I want everything that is not the actual fix that I'm doing. Does it contain the actual fix that I'm doing? It doesn't, so I'll get it. Do I want to fix that, to add this change? Yes. Do I want to add this? Well, yes, but still not the thing that I've been working on, so good for me. Okay, do I want that? Yup. And that's all. Okay, so I totally missed the part that I wanted to leave out. Git restore staged this file. What is it that I changed actually that I actually wanted to change in there? I suppose that was the yes, list of possible topics in here. Okay, let me try that again. Very big change, very big change, blah 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 blah. Still not the thing that I'm interested in. Yeah, list of possible topics, that's here. So I'm going to do S. S is going to split all this big diff into as many smaller diffs as it can. So I'm going to be able to validate them one by one. That is typically the one thing that I don't want to add to my commit. On the other hand, it also contains the formatting changes for the top line. So what I'm going to do is edit this diff. That's something that you can do in Git. You have the diff, and you say that, okay, I want this line to be replaced by that, but those lines, that's the lines that I've added, right? So I'm going to remove them. And that's only the diff that I'm going to keep, right? Save it, quit. Accept that, take this one, and the rest is probably going to be okay. So if I look at, if I do a question mark, it's going to tell me that, well, it's going to tell me this in French, but basically the A command is index this section and all the following section on the file. So I'm going to do A. Okay. So what is the status now? If I look at the diff of this file, there's only the change that I want, right? So I'm going to commit my changes as they are right now. CI is a shorthand for commit. Reformat base.html, right? And now the rest should be only what I'm interested in. Here, base.html contains all this change, index, only this change, charts. Yeah, charts is random. Yeah, what's that? That's totally unrelated. Yeah, okay, that's totally unrelated. I'm going to leave it out. That's probably some things that yeah, that's some changes that I've made a lot earlier, not related to this change. So I'm going to keep those, and I'm going to name that commit, add a link to the list of available topics. And this fixes, this fixes 291 with a pound. Okay, that's good, except I'm missing something. Something that I've been annoying people with for a while. In order to create the changelog for the next version, we have a tool called Town Crier. Town Crier is very, very cool. It lets you add the changes that you want to put in the changelog as files in this news directory, right? So you don't have to. So if you have many pull requests running at the same time, they are not conflicting on this changelog file, because that happens all the time otherwise. So you have to name the file properly. Here there's a 537.bug, and it also recognizes. Hey, Cosmic Emotion. I'm good. How are you? So Town Crier only recognizes a few types. It's all defined in pyproject.toml. There's beak for backwards incompatible changes. There's a feature type, there's a bug type, dev type. Here I'm going to use the feature type because I'm adding a new feature, even though it's not a very big feature, but it's still a feature. So, news. I'm going to create a file that is named 291.feature. And whatever I put in there is going to end up in the changelog. So I could reuse what I had on my command line. Add a link to the list of available topics. Save it, add it to my commit. All right, let me show you what it would look like in Town Crier. Town Crier would, yeah, it's not main dependencies. Oh, that's a bit too bad. Yeah, I'll do that later. It should be in my dependencies, no? Yeah, Town Crier is there. Oh yeah, I haven't installed the thing with poetry. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. I just need to do a poetry install. Otherwise, yeah, of course, it's not there because I haven't installed my dependencies though. So yeah, while it's installing, I'm going to add this commit. All right, it's installing everything. Okay, now what happens if I run that? So Town Crier is going to add this to the, it's not actually doing it because I used -- draft, but that's what it would add to the changelog. It would use the version number, it would be features, there would be a features header, add a link to the available topics with a link to the issue itself in GitHub. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so I have my commit, and now I'm going to do something. Push -u fork. I think that's it. Yes, it's pulling to the remote called fork, which is my fork, and it gives me a link to open a pull request. Link is not going to have a great title, but I could use add a link to the list of available topics. This PR also contains commits to upgrade Vagrant to F38 and to fix its Ansible playbook. Okay. Yep, that's the changes that I want. Fix Ansible playbook. Vagrant VM to F38. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let's create it. Okay, it's going to run the unit test. It should pass because I haven't created a new unit test. I haven't changed the unit test because it's basically documentation, and we don't have unit tests for that. So I'm going to let that run, and when it's ready, people can review it, I suppose. Okay. Was there something else that we wanted to have a look at? I mean, we could have a look at the other issue with Datanommer, which was pretty simple, but it's going to be a different thing. So I don't know. Do you want? Should I have a look at that? It's very simple. It's just like a missing dependency. Should we do that? Any preference? Yeah, I'm talking about Datanommer and Datagrepper, so I should as well. I might as well fix that. But for that, I'm going to go to the other environment. What's that? What did I change? Right. Well, yeah, didn't. Okay, that's fine. It's totally unrelated, but it's fine. Okay, let me run Vagrant up then and see if that works. By the way, which version is my Vagrant? F34. Yeah, you guessed right. Okay, so now I know how I could update it. Datagrepper, Vagrant. Okay. Use the 38. And we're going for a round again. Oh, I suspect that if it uses the same Ansible playbook or the same Ansible module, it's going to fail for the same reasons. Devel Ansible roles PostgreSQL tasks main. Yeah, it's creating a user. Yeah, it is creating a user. So I think we should add ACL here just to be safe. Okay, let's start Vagrants. And let's not make the mistake this time. No destroy on error. And now I can stop the Vagrant VM for the other one. It's gonna save me some memory. Okay, Vagrant is starting. The VM is starting at least, and we'll see if it goes to the end. Let me get more water. That part is pretty much going to be the same. It's going to install Datanommer, but not Datagrepper this time. So yeah, let me explain what's going on here. The problem that we've had is that, yeah, so let me look at the Datanommer source code. That's going to be easier to explain. Hello. Yeah, okay. So the models are pretty simple. No. So there is a user table. So there is of course a message table which holds messages. Okay, it has a bunch of things. The most important one being the timestamp and the message ID, the topic, and where's the body of it? MSG. Okay. But we also have a user's relationship to the users, the table, and to the packages table. So Datanommer should be able to extract the users affected by, the user who caused an action to happen, the users that are affected by an action, the packages that are affected by an action, etc. All that is separate tables in the Datanommer database that lets us query for this information more easily. Okay, that's the function. Okay, user and package. Okay. All right. The thing is to be able to understand all this information from any message that go through the bus, it needs to have the corresponding schema, because that's what the schema does. The schema will give you an API to query to get the users affected by a message or the packages that are linked to a message, an incoming message. And instead of having to know what the structure of the message itself, you will just use properties on the message object. Right? You do a get usernames and you get the users affected. You could do a get packages and you get the list of packages affected. So you need the schema to understand that. The problem is for the build sys messages, which are sent by Koji, we the schema was created after Datanommer was created. So they are not in the list of installed schemas. Where is the list of installed schemas? It's in pyproject.uml. Or is it? No, it's in pyproject.uml for Datanommer.models, the Datanommer.models subproject. See, you have all the messages in here that are set as optional, and you can install with the extra called schemas. And in there is no Koji message or build sys messages. This list here is actually not as long as it could be. In Fedora messaging, there is a list of available messages, and for that we have a list of known packages. I'm going to go to Fedora messaging now. In the doc, there is a file called schema packages, which is all the schema packages that I know of. And if you know of another one, then tell me, I'll add it here and it'll be in the documentation. Let's check that we have all of that in this list. So there's Initia, okay, there's body, fine, CI, copper, discourse, yes, Fedora, Fedora Infra, Fedora elections, Fedora messaging the new hotness, Fedora planet messages, yes, Koji Fedora message, that's the one missing. Koji Fedora messaging messages. I'm going to add it as an extra. That's done in the Datanommer, Datanommer.models, poetry, add, I think you have an optional switch that you can use. Optional, yeah. This one, Koji Fedora messaging messages. Can I add it to an extra right now? I don't think so. Using version 1.2.2, fine. Let me check that we have everything else. So that was missing. There was MD API messages, yes. Noggin, yeah. Nuancier, yeah. And Pagure message. That was the only one missing actually. Bit too bad. Okay. So now it's now that I've asked it to add the package, it's also installing the whole thing. I don't really need it, but it's fine. Do your thing, Poetry. PsychoPG2 is C, so it has to be compiled. There you go. Okay. So now, in my file here, I have Koji Fedora messaging messages that is here, and I need just to add it to my. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to try and keep that ordered. So it's easier to read. And I'm going to add it to my list here. Koji Fedora messaging messages. Okay, it should now install with the extra. So how do I know, how do I tell the deployment to use the schemas extra? That's a good question. So this application is deployed in OpenShift. In OpenShift, you have different ways of using an image to deploy the container. You can either use an existing image and pull it from a repository, such as Quay.io, for example, or get Docker Hub. But you can also build it directly in OpenShift, and that's what we are doing. We're using something called S2I, means source to image, to get the repository, build an image out of it, and then use that image. S2I is configured in an S2I directory, like .s2i directory, and so there's a set of files here. Run Datanommer is a command that is run to run the pod. That's set by the environment here. Run Datanommer. App script is the environment variable that S2I is going to be using. And in bin, I can override some of the scripts shipped by S2I. Here I'm overriding the assemble script, which is executed to build the build the package. So I'm using the existing assemble script and then installing micropipenv because I'm using Poetry and it's the closest thing that, well, it's what can read the Poetry files, I should say. I'm installing all the sub-projects and I'm fixing the permissions. And here you see that I'm installing why install deploy, why I was expecting to see the schemas extra here. I'm not seeing it. I probably forgot how I'm even deploying this. That is interesting. Wait a minute. Ah, yes, I suppose. Yes, okay. I'm guessing that I'm actually overriding that in the Ansible repository, but I'm not sure. Let me check. What are... let me check the tree. It's not in playbooks. It's in roles. Datanommer. Oh, OpenShift, of course. OpenShift apps. Datanommer. Templates. Build config. No, nothing strange in there. What am I using? That is a background job to upgrade the database between updates. I am surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought it would be... Am I doing something wrong? I thought it would be installing with the right extra. Oh yes, I think that's what happens here. Okay, because I'm using pip install to install the root repository. Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, I remember that now. Okay, when you install something with micropipenv, I think it installs all the extras by default. Let me check that, but that would make sense. So it will let you run Datanommer without the dependencies if you want them, if you don't want them, but it's also going to install the dependencies on production if you just select the extra. And micropipenv, if I remember correctly, selects all the extras and install all of them. Okay, yes, that's probably what's going on here. Okay, so yeah, it's all in an extra. Should I have put it in the main dependencies? Maybe. I could set that as non-optional. Doesn't make a lot of difference anyway, because micropipenv is going to install everything. All right, so next push is going to have this file. I'm going to commit that. I see that I have pending commits in there, so I'm going to do the same thing as before. Git stash, git pull, git stash pop. Ah, yep, there's something wrong with the poetry.lock. What's wrong with this? Let me just restore it. I'm going to restore the file and regenerate it. I'm going to regenerate the poetry log file. Okay. Let me check that I didn't make too much of a mistake. No, it's fine. Yep, it's all fine. Okay, good. Okay, do I want to commit all of this? Well, probably not, because in there are changes for the Vagrant environment, so I'm going to do the same thing. Restore, staged, everything. All right. First, Vagrant. The Vagrant file and the Ansible playbook file. Upgrade Vagrant to F38. Yeah, that should be familiar now. Okay, now what's the change? Changes in poetry.lock and changes. Yeah, okay, I'm going to exclude the change in talks.ini because it's totally unrelated. Okay, let's do poetry and PyProject. Good. And now I'm going to do the real commit right here. So do I have a changelog file? Apparently not, because oh yeah, it's probably in datanommer.models, but okay, let me go to datanommer.models. Right. What are the noun types for town crier? Dependency. That's perfect. So I'm going to create a new branch, name fix, and the name of the issue that I've been working on, 1257. Yeah, that's one. 1257. I'm going to create the file. .125.7.dependency. And what I'm going to put here, add the there you go. This is RS restructured text, right? So it's going to, you have to use the format corresponding to restructured text. Save it, add it to my commit. I should check that it's actually generating properly. Go to datanommer.models, poetry run town crier build --draft. Oh yeah, something, it's unhappy about something, but I'm don't really change that now. News, okay, yeah, let's keep that dependency. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's keep it at that. And my commit is going to be containing pretty much exactly the same thing, except this time it's marked down because it's GitHub. Fix 1257. Fixes, I prefer. Commit it. Okay. Git push -u fork done. Okay, I'm going to reuse the same thing. No, that's not the. What did I just change? Yeah, that. Add the Corrigi Fedora messaging package. Okay. This PR also upgrades the Vagrant VM to F38. Okay. All right. So I see that the test didn't pass in here. Oh, that's okay. Oh, it's fine. It's just the RPM builds. That's yeah, I need to fix those, but they're more or less expected to fail. So that's fine. Okay, so we just need somebody's review for that one. And here, tests are going now. Okay. So we fixed both of them. That's, I think, fine because they were closely related to one another. So I think that concludes it. Same here, I'm going to need somebody's review. But it looks fine. Yep, looks fine. Okay. Do you have any questions on that? On Datagrepper and Datanommer, for example? Do you have any questions on anything? All right, if that's all, then we can stop here. Just check. Tests are going are good. Yeah, I think we can stop there. Thanks again for attending. It was nice. We got to talk about applications that we haven't talked about before, so that's always good. Um, and yeah, thanks for warning me when I when my mic is low or when I do that sort of thing. It was nice to see some new faces and some not new faces. And see you next time. It's gonna be next Friday, same time, same place. And yeah, I hope you had a good time and you eventually even maybe learn some stuff. See you next time and have fun.